Hi folks, and welcome to this fourth and final Charlie's Angle segment on margin compression in the green industry. If you recall, in the first segment I introduced the notion of an index of prices paid by growers that basically indicated that costs as compared to 2007 have risen 21.7%, right? So costs have increased and prices have remained roughly static. We've had a little bit of an increase in price in certain sectors, but a almost 22% increase in cost during that time period, which is squeezing out profits in the industry. So in this segment, I'm going to focus in on distribution and logistics costs. And in that particular index, the distribution trucking costs were basically 11% of sales across the board. That was the weight for that particular line item. And those costs have increased by 17.5% today over what they were back in 2007. So it's a significant part of the profitability picture for growers in the future. Now that particular industry is undergoing significant structural change of its own. In fact, the ATA, the American Trucking Association, projects that tonnage up until between now and 2023 will be increasing by 3.4% every year, right? So if the tonnage that needs to be shipped is increasing by 3.4%, and we already have an undercapitalized, that's the word, undercapitalized industry. That was, we don't have enough trucks on the road, we don't have enough drivers. We're 48,000 drivers short of where we need to be right now in the trucking industry. In fact, that particular sector needs to hire about 100,000 more drivers every year just to account for those that normally quit during the course of a year and the number of retirements that are going to be occurring over the next few years. So if they don't, we could see that shortage even rise to about 250,000 drivers short by the year 2023. And that 5-year planning horizon is about as far out as I've seen any projections in the industry, because that's about as far as you can go with any degree of confidence. So we got major structural changes. We have more regulatory issues impacting that industry. The ELD devices, electronic logging devices, are being implemented December 18th. And there are some ag exemptions in terms of when those ELD devices kick in. I think it's 150 air miles or 172 road miles. But what I would recommend is you contact the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration and make sure that if you have your trucks or whoever carriers you're using are compliant, because the fines on those things are going to be pretty hefty. All right, so you don't want to be outside the law there. All right, so we have ELD devices. We have a lot of safety features that are being implemented on the trucks themselves, being mandated. Auto lanes, the swerve control, you got the auto braking, you got the auto speed control. Those kinds of safety factors are increasing the CapEx expenditures on a per truck basis. So you take all these factors combined, and freight rates are going to increase at a minimum about 3% each year between now and 2023. It may be more than that. In fact, FedEx has already increased their rates 4.9%. And I've seen some projections that reflect that over that time period, we may see as much as a 20% increase in overall freight rates. So I'll continue measuring those freight rates over time, but basically we can pretty well be assured that they're not going to go down, that those freight rates are going to increase. So the bottom line that we've been talking about margin compression is we need to be cognizant of all these costs. And I'll be updating this index of prices paid by growers annually, and we'll see what that increase is. But we need to be working on our pricing, right? And influencing that pricing so that we can get elevated pricing for our products and services, so that this margin compression won't keep eroding our margins. Basically, we have to look at that value proposition so that, as I've said many times on Charlie's Angle, we've got to look at that value proposition and put our best foot forward in terms of being able to charge the prices that will result in the margins that we need to be long-term, to survive in the long term. All right, so that's it for right now. You can see more information on the American Hort website in the Knowledge Center. There's all kinds of tables and columns to explain this index and some of the factors that I've been talking about in the video. So I encourage you to go to the American Hort website. That's the Knowledge Center. Check out some of these resources and then think about how that influences your particular business. Now, one interesting thing you could do is you could look at the weights that I used in calculating that particular index, and you could insert your own weights in terms of calculating what those figures might be for your individual business, right? So that's just one of the applications. So that's it for now, and I'll talk to you soon in the next Charlie's Angle segment. Thanks for being here.